On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will be going toe-to-toe as they discuss their personal take on Star Wars Visions and its 9 shorts. Find out if Matt or Nick had the correct episode ranks as according to the Star Wars gods. After that, they'll fill you in on Disney Plus Day 2021 and what sort of Star Wars content fans can expect to come out of it. They'll also run with a new quote from Diego Luna on the Andor series and how fans will see familiar faces. Speaking of which, the dudes will talk about the latest round of collectibles to consider and how Hasbro continues its repaint trend for the Black Series line. As always, the show will end with the fan segment featuring fan responses to the question of the week and a praise-filled discussion on this week's top 5 Star Wars featured artists. Punch it, Chewie!
Hey, now, everybody! Are we live? Can you hear me now? Am I the Sprint guy, the former Verizon guy? Hello, is this shit on? Hopefully, who knows? No one is in the stream yet, but that's kind of how things go. On the Star Wars Time Show, our fans are just as lazy as we are. So we're here, and you know what? There are times, Nick, where I wish the fans could kind of hear our pregame conversation, because today was interesting. You know, we didn't get in any pre-show battles like we do sometimes, arguing about that galaxy far, far away with each other. Rather, we're actually getting no data on the feed, so maybe that's why something's not.
Oh no, I saw that we were live though, because I went on YouTube and it says that we're live.
Yeah,
so
like everything on my end looks good, but there's definitely something wrong with YouTube right now.
I heard us too. I just opened it up and we had sound, so it seems we're
Nick. It's doing that thing where apparently the bit rate is too much. It's too much. Even though any streaming platform, they're like, hey, the higher your streaming rate is, the better. Nope, not YouTube, because right now I'm getting a warning. Our current bit rate is 11,000 kilobits per second, which is huge.
Yeah.
They usually recommend
super crisp.
Like 3 to 5, but apparently that pisses them off. So, oh well, I guess we're working. But yeah, so back to pre-show today. Look at this guy. I think Nick just dropped one of Sir Dork's new sponsors. I don't know if you saw his
Liquid Death.
He literally just did a shoot. I don't know if for them or a contest they're holding, Nick, where he did his Sir Dork thing and blew up some fireworks behind the can you're drinking right there. So
I love Liquid. Yeah, I see it. I did not see it until you mentioned it, but
it's
Liquid Death is good.
Too bad Jared's not. What is that? Just more like liquids, like just speed, like cocaine in a can, or is it it water?
It's literally just water. It's just sparkling water. Yeah, that's it.
So you're a seltzer guy too. Like, where does that come from? Do you just like the fizziness? Is it the burping you like from it, or what?
So a lot of times we use it in mixers. So like if we're, most of the time when we're at home, when we're just like drinking by ourselves, if we don't feel like making a cocktail, like an actual like something like that, what we'll do is we'll just take Mio, like the little water flavor, and then put it into some of this nice Liquid Death, and then just put whiskey in it, and then you just make yourself.
Then it truly becomes Liquid Death. Like that's actually a great name for a can of fucking water if you think about it.
Yeah, but it other than that, I mean, like I didn't really drink like seltzer water or anything like that until I moved to Texas, and it was because fucking Topo Chico is everywhere. So like everywhere you go in Texas, it's like, oh, you want water? Do you want a Topo Chico? And it's like, okay, yeah, here you go. And then once I started on that,
what the fuck's a Topo Chico? Just seltzer
water? It's like a mineral seltzer water. Yeah,
I know. My mom is that's like all she drinks is seltzer instead of real water, and I've never understood it because it's like it doesn't make me feel refreshed like, drinking a big fucking cold can of ice cold water.
Yeah.
And I'm someone, I eat fast, but also with carbonation, it's nonstop, like after drinking that stuff. So I try to avoid things that make me sound like an animal as much as possible. But
yeah,
okay.
I mean, honestly, for here, it's just more convenient because it's in a can, and I don't have to like fill up a bottle and bring it up. I just have it in the fridge, bring it, crack it, I'm good. But yeah, no, it's actually pretty decent, and Taylor likes it too. Taylor actually was the first one to try the Liquid Death. She found it in like a gas station, like one of the gas station, like freezers, and she had it, and she was like, "Oh, this is great." And I had been seeing ads for it constantly since they released. For like over a year, I've been seeing ads for Liquid Death, and then we took the plunge, and it's pretty good. So no complaints from me.
Yeah, so anyways, back to what we were saying here before we went live. I'm talking 30 seconds before I get on the horn with Nick. My wife sends me a text, "Hey, are you live yet?" And I'm like, "Almost. What's up?" And she just calls. And she's like, "Hey, I got some bad news. Do you want it now or after your show?" I'm like, "Well, anytime someone says that to you, who says, no, I'll go ahead and wait 2 or 3 hours and just let that thought fester in the back of my head. Like, is my kid dead? Does my wife have COVID? I mean, that's the type of shit that runs through my head." And she goes, "The truck got hit by a bus." And I'm like, "What?" My truck, by the way. She took my truck today for some reason. And at kindergarten pickup, apparently it got fucking plowed by a bus. So now she's currently dealing with it. It sent me off the deep end. All right, I had a little therapy with Nick beforehand. I'm trying to get better, but I am someone that reacts very poorly to these situations. All right, because I first go, Nick's like, "Well, is she okay?" That wasn't even my first thought was, how dare you fuck up my truck? Like, what the fuck was your problem? Why did you park somewhere that a bus could fucking hit it? All right, that's right where I go. And then it turns into the drama queen starts coming out like, "Well, fuck this. This trip's canceled. I don't even want to see the truck again. Just fucking dump it off at the junkyard today. I'm done." And, I do this with toys. I do it with new shoes. If they get a mark on it, it's like, well, fuck it. I'm not going to wear them anymore. There's a mark on it. It's not perfect. Man, I'm a fucking baby. So that's what I'm doing here. Over a truck. Yes, everyone's fine. That's why I don't feel too bad sounding like an asshole. But my truck is fucked up. And it was a nice truck. I took care of it. It's not like a manly truck where you're like, "Oh yeah, it needs some dents and scratches." No, it's a pussy, clout having truck. That's a Ridgeline Black Edition. It was a nice fucking car.
That's what I have, a 2021 Chevy Colorado Redline Edition. So it's basically the same truck that Matt has.
It's not a man's truck. Nick's not driving it out and hauling tons of shit from Home Depot every weekend. He's like me. He's like, "Hey, I made some money. It's big. It looks American. This is what I want. This is what I fucking want. I don't want to look like a pussy. I want a truck." And now mine is fucked up, and I will never, ever be able to accept it again. And I'm getting updates now that it needs fucking towed. So it's totaled. I mean, this ain't just like the bus dented it. It's fucking smashed. And it frustrates the living fucking hell out of me. I know I don't deal with this correctly. I know I should be more concerned about the people involved, but I can't help myself. I'm a fuck up, all right? I was raised by a fuck up. My head's fucked up almost every hour of the day. I mean, you guys get to see it kind of unfiltered for 2 hours a week or more. All right? It's just, I don't know. So I'm a little scatterbrained right now because my truck is fucked up. I shouldn't be angry at my wife, but I am, so I'm dealing with that too. And, now it's the shit show of trying to figure out how to do the magical, the magical chairs of who gets what car when, who can do this when. I mean, hopefully she realizes now I can't do any fucking pickups or drop-offs because of this fucking accident. So, shit's fucked up. Fuck. Why you gotta take my fucking car when we have 2 working cars? It's not like she was going to a goddamn construction site. What the fuck do you need a truck for to pick up kids from daycare? Kindergarten! Fuck!
Woosa.
Yeah. Sawaka. I'm starting to I'm speaking in tongues like these fucking freaks, right? Sawaka. Yabadaka yabadabadu Jesus. All right. Well, I know you guys don't come here to hear me bitch and moan about nice cars getting fucked up and people being okay, but it is what it is. Life happened right before the show started. So, we got some Star Wars stuff to talk about. We've got a whole segment planned for Star Wars Visions now that it's been out. And Nick and I have taken the time to go through them and kind of rank them. I put my rankings out in video form and in post form last week just so we would have a talking point today. But I can tell you fans that Nick also spit out his ranking list in our Slack. So we'll kind of have that to compare and contrast my rankings, which since they got posted on the site, they kind of de facto became SWTSs. But I'm happy to report Nick and I, as usual, which, makes for some fun on the show sometimes, did not see eye to eye on our rankings. So that should, make for a fun conversation. Plus, we've got some Boba Fett stuff to talk about, some just random Andor shit that I threw up today because I realized I didn't have to work my real job today. But first, Nick, before we get into that, real quick, I know, sometimes we like to share something that other geeks may find interesting. And on this show, I made the pledge to get into Another Life, which is Bo-Katan's other series she does on Netflix when she's not, donning the armor. I'm talking about the lovely Katie Sackhoff. So I did finally dive into it, and I'll tell you what. It's got a pretty horrible pilot, and there are moments throughout probably every episode where you sit there and go, is this like a fucking B movie? Has any of these other actors and actresses done anything before? Because who's writing this shit? But at times it's also very compelling, and considering it's one of the few Netflix created series that actually got greenlit for a second season, right? I mean, Nick, they seemingly kill their own series left and right after only one season, but it got a second one, and it's actually debuting October 14th because Katie's, ramping up the hype machine. But I'm on, I think, up to episode 6 now. I have found it's one of those good shows at night to, if you like sci-fi stuff, to throw on, but it's definitely a little scattered and wonky at times. And it also floats in between looking like a high-end production and something Nick and I could do in our basement. So, I don't know. It's an interesting series. I guess the best selling point for us Neanderthal men out there is Katie is in bikini-like dress for pretty much every episode. You get kind of that type of stuff. So, if you're into her, if you're into women built like her, that athletic build, she definitely has no issues getting ready to go in the cryo sleep and whatnot, and basically getting into bikini bottoms and tops. So that is a bonus. But like I said, it's got some interesting sci-fi elements to it, so not too bad. The other one, Nick, and I don't know if you guys, well, you do fuck with TV Plus because I know you're a Lassoer.
Yes,
but
I am a Ted Lasso fan.
Goyer's Foundation premiered last Friday, episode 1 and 2, and I've watched both of those, and without really getting into it,
is it top notch? Is it good stuff? Because we're interested.
I mean, production value-wise, it blows out anything I've seen on TV. I mean, they have to be throwing the same fucking money that they did for Game of Thrones. And I know, I don't want to get caught up in what you've probably been hearing from everyone else, but it is appropriate to describe Foundation as Star Wars of Thrones. All right? I mean, there's even a galactic empire. Like, no fucking shit. There's a galactic empire. Yeah, not kidding. There's Emperor, who's like a clone of himself. So, I know Asimov wasn't pulling from Star Wars, and I don't even really know the timeline that Asimov was doing these novellas that they've kind of based Foundation on. But here's what I'll say on Foundation. And I think this is even true now for probably book readers, because it's one of those shows, Nick, where you watch it, you're like, okay, I need to dive in a little bit more. I like it enough, but I don't feel like the show kind of gave me enough of the depth.
Yeah.
But the first episode is a rough pilot because I feel like it's such a large world that they did everything they could to ramp up the core story, which resulted in like, oh, here's this going on, 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 this going on. Oh, then that just happened. Like, okay, I guess that makes sense. To where by the time the first episode, the pilot ends, you're like, I'm in on this franchise. I think the meat of the narrative is very exciting. It's essentially puts out there, Nick, that there's a new type of math that allows people to predict the future of large civilizations. Okay.
Interesting.
So when you're running a galactic empire, you probably don't want someone out there essentially saying, oh yeah, by the way, this is all fucked.
Yeah.
In about 500 years, this empire that stood for millennia is fucked. And then it's going to go into a dark ages for 30 years. But because we know this,
you can counteract it.
If we provide a foundation for the generation that comes out of the dark ages, humanity won't have to spend 30,000 years getting back to the point that we were at our pinnacle before it all came crashing down. So that's really kind of the main crux of Foundation. And then episode 2, it gets into its stride. It's no longer bogged down by all the setup. So I'm all in on Foundation. I know Goyer, he's been quoted as saying he wants to do 8 seasons of it. I think this first season's 10 episodes, and they definitely didn't skimp on cash or talent. Lee Pace plays the cloned Emperor. What's his name? Jerry something, that dude from Chernobyl, who's a fucking Mac Daddy actor. He's in it.
Okay,
and some of the other stars are new and upcomers, but yeah. Okay, so 1.6 is saying this shit came out in 42. So yeah, Lucas definitely was inspired.
Pulled some inspiration.
Yeah. So there you go. But it is kind of the same. I mean, the Galactic Empire truly is the empire of humans throughout the galaxy over thousands and thousands of years. So
okay,
there you go. Another Life, if you like Katie and it's getting a second season, so it's not a waste of your time. And then Foundation, because Apple literally will not cancel any of their shit because they're like, we got to have something to.
You need some sort of programming on that.
Right. So. I mean, yeah, Ted Lasso's fantastic, but we're on Star Wars Time show. I figured those sci-fi shows would fit, and they're both doable for people that like the Star Wars.
Yes.
A quick note for you, Nick, as a new owner of Game Pass, did you see today that the last year's Marvel's Avengers is hitting Game Pass today, I believe. So,
okay. That's good to know, because I have been kind of short on my Game Pass list. Like I've worn out my welcome with Madden 2021. So I put that to bed after about a week of playing it. And I am looking for other stuff. Like I preloaded whatever, like Back for Blood, the Left 4 Dead kind of rehash. And other than that, I've been playing like Gears 4 because I didn't finish it when it came out 5 years ago. So I am now on the
you'll have 5 to play after that, or have you played 5?
Gears 5. Yeah, because that is on Game Pass too.
Yep.
But knowing that the Avengers is on there, like I'll try it out. I mean, obviously, when that game released, it had very, very bad reviews.
Well,
but
Nick, they've actually billed this as its second life. They're like, maybe Game Pass will give it another life, because you're right. It didn't perform so well, at least with critics when it dropped.
Yeah. And I assume that the Game Pass edition will have all of the upgrades and updates that they did to it over the years since it's been released. So I'll give it a try. I mean, that's the good thing about Game Pass is that it's basically free. So if you pay for Game Pass, you can try anything you want to. And then if you don't.
Oh, what just happened? This is Nick's new deal where his Skype quits out because he upgraded to Windows 11.
Like I was saying, it seems
is
like
this going to be a new thing, Windows 11, you cocksucker?
That's what I was about to say. This may be the new Windows 11 quirk. Is that
it's like after we're on for 25 minutes, it's just like, you know what? These guys suck. Let's quit like the app.
Look, it's like those. It's like Zoom. If you have more than 2 people on a call, if you don't pay for it, it kicks you after 30 minutes. It's like, all right, you're done. It's time for you to get out.
I actually thought I hit like an eject button because I was hitting enter on another window and it was right when you froze. But then I remembered last week the same shit happened. So
yeah, no, this time I was actually like in the back of my head. I was acutely waiting. I was like, am I going to get a Skype shutdown again? Okay, and then right as it happened, I was there. I was ready. Kick it back up. So, but yeah, I will try Marvel's Avengers when it comes out just to see what it's like. And if it sucks, then I'll delete it. Oh man.
Yeah. So I don't know. Good stuff. I think I might finally be getting over the. Nah, I'm actually not. I'm just saw another text. She's like, "Hey, do you want me to send pics?" I was like, "Why the fuck would you do that?" That'd be like me going up to a hibernating bear right now and poking it with sticks. Not a good fucking idea. It just, the truck's gone. I only had it for 2 years and it's gone. Like literally a beautiful truck. It's gone. But yeah, I know people are more important and you can't replace people.
Also, if they total it out insurance wise, you get a brand new truck for free.
Well, based on whatever the value is, right?
Yeah, whatever the value.
It's still not going to be what I had, and we were getting close to paying that fucking thing off too. So it's just like I don't know, whatever. Fuck it. I mean, what's the point of dwelling on it, right? It's stupid because it's just gonna fucking get me angry and get me in trouble when I see the wife tonight. Like to the point where we're having a screaming match in front of the kid, like fucking losers. So, oh well. Let's talk Star Wars. That'll make me happy because I am always positive when we talk Star Wars, right? All right, Visions, my friend. So, yes. Losers like you and I, we didn't get any early press access. No big deal. We didn't expect that was coming. So we had to wait with all the other schlubs. So last Wednesday when it dropped, because, that's when everyone wants to watch new content on Disney Plus, is on a fucking Wednesday. But I checked it out in full. I think Nick kind of spread it out, which I actually think is probably the smarter way to consume Visions after doing a binge. And I think Bat also agreed that binging might not have been the best way to do it because you get a little anime fatigue by the end, or at least I did. And let's be real. I mean, some of the shorts, while I'm not going to say any of them sucked, some of them were very slow and methodical and very Japanese, if you know what I mean. Like very, very deliberate, but slow and moody. It's like, all right, let's get to the fucking point here.
If you're not like an anime regular, if you're not used to anime, then it could definitely get a little tiring. I mean, like even for me, a couple of them were like, man, this is dragging a little bit more than I would like.
But I mean, like Nick, let's kind of approach it this way, kind of like we do with our episode breakdowns. Just general review of the franchise or the series, and then we'll go through the list. I'll announce where I ranked, and then you announce what you ranked, and we'll kind of talk about some of the differences here. But I would like, anyone that wants more of a deeper thoughts from my demented brain, please check out my full ranking and review video out there on youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. I don't know. I've gotten back to unscripted videos, and while they end up being longer, I believe they might be more entertaining and or tolerable. But that's me, and the views usually don't line up with my head, so this was another project where I probably should have just posted instead of wasting the time doing a video, but hey, I can't help myself. And I mean, these days, I'm not going to have a vehicle for a while, so I guess I might as well piss away more time on Star Wars Time Show, because I ain't fucking going anywhere. Not that I have been, but won't be doing pickups and drop-offs for a bit. So, like I said, my deep thoughts on this are in that video. I'll just wrap it up like this and let Nick kind of take the stage since he didn't get any time behind the mic. I thought it was everything I wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. I've always felt Star Wars is perfectly set up to work in anime. We kind of got teases of that through the Galaxy of Adventure shorts that we got a few years back, which I thought were badass. I mean, they weren't like on smack anime like some of these that we got in Visions, but they definitely honored the mantra of anime. You know, the animation itself was a little edgy. They made the action bits a little more, you know, they popped a bit more, had a little pizzazz, if you will. So I really feel like Visions paid off on all of my expectations. I loved how you could feel the influence of Japanese culture in each and every episode. I mean, every episode had a poignant focus on the importance of lightsabers to the culture, the ceremonies around lightsabers, the focus on the crystals. Every episode having to say, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, that was fun.
So I love the lens that the Japanese artists kind of put Star Wars through. We got a lot of familiar looking and feeling subject matter, but it also at the same time felt fresh and different. I felt like there was a greater sense of honor in each one of these episodes versus than what you would get in traditional Star Wars. Honor in terms of, you know, honor to your family, be it Jedi or Sith or your actual relatives, and just the code of these mystical warriors. Yeah. So I mean, I loved it from top to bottom. I mean, some of them didn't stand out or make an impact on me as much as the others, but overall, I thought it was fantastic. I loved the gamble. I think it paid off, and just based on talking to our fans, looking in Discord, and reading the interwebs, I do feel like it has gotten enough of a pat on the back that this could become a repetitive series, and we may get another season. So that's kind of my take. Nick, what would you think as on a whole of Visions?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it all the way through, and you know, as I was watching it, and I actually watched the last one today before we went live. You know, knowing that I had to make like a list of sorts, like rank them, I was like, man, I almost just want to do like a top 3 and not really do a full ranking, because I don't want to put anything last and like make people think that one was bad or something. Right. Because I don't think any of them were bad. But
not at all.
Yeah. But they're, like you said, some are paced a little bit differently. Some are a little bit more high in action. Some are a little bit more focused on interpersonal relationships and stuff like that. I love the different animation styles in each one of them too. Like when you watch one, you can tell, you can almost like say, you know, oh, well, this one, like if you're an anime fan, or if you just like casually dabble in anime, you could be like, oh, well, this one reminded me of this anime. Like this one reminded me of, you know,
well, yeah, I'm anime stupid. Like Nick probably would have been better at doing those correlations, because I felt like Tatooine Rhapsody to me was like the epitome of standard looking anime visuals. You know, the little beady pupils and the you know, like that type of stuff. But then others would look completely different. And the crazy thing is, Nick, is that 7 studios produced the 9 shorts, so you had a few studios working on multiple, and yet I believe all 9 look visually unique to each other.
I was going to say the studio, the one studio did 2. That was the one that did T0B1, the Toby episode, that's Science Saru, and then I believe Science Saru also did Akakiri. So those are two completely different visual styles, but that just goes to show you that like just because an anime studio makes something that looks one way doesn't mean that they can't do other styles, which I thought was really cool.
Well, it goes to show that every artist is different too. They may work under the same umbrella, but let's say, Joe Schmo gets the lead on one short and Dickie gets the lead on the next. Just because they work in the same building doesn't necessarily mean it's going to look the same.
Exactly. Like broad reaching thoughts. I think that if Disney wanted to just say like, hey, we're going to go all in on this style of stuff, I would call up all 7 studios and I would order series for every one of these shorts. I'd just be like, hey, give me a season of all of them. Because I think that each one of them has their own merits, their own different storytelling, and their own narrative threads that you could pull through at least one season. So I was a big fan.
I don't think we're getting a question, Nick. You may know better than me, but Studio, is it Ghibli or Ghibli? They weren't involved, were they?
They did not do it. No. Yeah, no. Studio Ghibli did not do it. Hayao Miyazaki usually only does full-length movies, and like off the top of my head, I don't know the names of many animation studios. Guy.
Look at he's like name dropping shit. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy Hayazaki. Oh yeah, I know him. That guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's not going to do it. It's almost impossible. Like, I think.
Your generation, Nick, I think probably is more open to anime because of the Pokemons and the Dragon Balls and whatnot
and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was way more accessible to us when we were kids in comparison to like you. I mean, and you're only like 7, 8 years older than me. So it's not like you're.
We had anime, but it wasn't really packaged that way. Like to me, Speed Racer was anime. Racer.
Yes.
Voltron was anime.
Yes.
What was it? Starhawks was anime.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
even like Transformers to a degree. Like,
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah. So, but it was a little bit more accessible for like my generation, I guess you would say. But I mean, that's the good thing now is you get to see like essentially you can see the evolution of styles of anime just through this series itself. Because even if you go back to like older anime like Cowboy Bebop and Neon Genesis and stuff like that, they kind of had similar styles, but within this one you can see like updated stylings. Like the twins is definitely something that you probably couldn't have made 20 years ago in anime because it requires too much of a digital touch to it, whereas something like the Duel or something like the Ninth Jedi you could have made back then because it does rely a little bit more on like a hand-drawn style and it doesn't require a lot of digital tools to make that happen. But I was a huge fan. Like even stuff that I thought that I like went into it and I thought I wasn't gonna like, I ended up liking. I mean, overall, big fan of what they did. I hope they choose to do some series orders off of this, but I would be happy if they just kind of continued to do it as like an anthology short series. But I do think that having this style continue on for Star Wars would be great.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I would prefer them to continue some of these shorts that were already started versus a new slate of all brand new shorts. I mean, I wouldn't bitch about either one. And who knows what how they make their decisions? What's it based on? Is it the slapdick shit that they got all excited with Loki? Like, oh, look, the most people watched it on a Wednesday. It's like, okay, well, how do you quantify that? Like, what does that even mean? Like, who cares? Who fucking cares? Like, to me, it would be how many people literally made a transaction to sign up to watch your fucking show. That's for streaming. That's the metric I think would matter versus, hey, on a Wednesday, we had 5 million people watch it versus on a Friday, 4.78 million people watch it. So let's shift everything to Wednesday. So all right, well, we're in line here. We're all about it. 11 out of 10 all the way. It was a winner. It really was. I mean, I like different Star Wars, and I'm a homer for the canon. Please, I mean, I do canon recaps of comic books that no one watches, yet I still like doing it because I'm such a sucker for canon and lore in all these fictional worlds that we buy into as, not normal humans. But I don't know. I just I also like seeing Star Wars be different.
Yeah,
getting away from the tried and true tropes. Everyone says they're getting away, and this show's getting away, and this one's got away from Skywalker. But in the end, they always loom large. It even happened to the Mando itself. Like, the Mando can never say it's not a part of the Skywalker saga, because it is now. And maybe he'll come back in, maybe he won't. But they pulled out the sacred cow. So once you drink from that well, you can't go back and say you're an original and you're doing your own thing. You know what I mean? So. All right. Well, let's kind of get into the episodes themselves from a position of ranking them. And, we'll use my list on the stream just because they can see it. But after I announce my one, Nick will discuss his one. And, if we feel like spitting on each other, we can go from there. So, and what I did with on the post, I'm typically not this lazy, but I'm getting better at this stuff, just done with investing too much time in the Star Wars, because I've kind of gotten the hint, and I'm getting better at just living with that. But I gave everyone a peek into what I typed down when I watch Star Wars stuff. So if you did happen to click on this link and go through the article and read the blurbs under each pick, I understand it is not working English. It's my own kind of notes to myself.
Little notes, little blurbs.
So it is what it is. It's just things that I jot down while I'm watching that I want to remember when it comes to either, doing a video recap, a canon breakdown, an egg breakdown, or in this case, ranking. But my number one, I went with the Ninth Jedi. And, some of my notes revolved around, I really love the angle they took on lightsaber lore. And that it wasn't so much that the Jedi were dying out, it's that they just didn't have fucking lightsabers anymore. Like, their weapons disappeared. And, there was this one, what was it, Margrave or whatever, was this, spoilers, by the way.
Yeah,
spoilers!
If you haven't seen all of these, then obviously skip ahead a little bit until we finish our breakdown. But because we're going to be talking in depth about each.
Yeah, short. I mean, just like we do with our Bad Batch breakdowns and whatnot. And I assume most people are either in the stream or that listen right away on Wednesdays. They're nutty like us and probably have consumed the content. But just in case, spoilers inbound. So. Really, Nick, the reason I went number one, and I felt like 1, 2, and 3, just like you said offline, could be swapped. But to me, the Ninth Jedi felt the most fleshed out in terms of its creators. To me, had a past, the present we saw, and a future planned.
Yes.
I feel like this short in particular told a complete tale from start to finish, establishing new characters and then putting them on a path of a brand new journey that I would like to see play out. And that is the continued growth of the Ninth Jedi herself. I also love their take on the color of lightsaber blades. I thought that was fucking brilliant. In that blades, instead of having to bleed a crystal red, the crystal would just sense what type of person you were, and it would either turn red if you were a Sith or one of the Jedi colors. And hell, Nick, we even got another purple lightsaber on that one guy that was a Sith but realized as he was fighting the Ninth Jedi that I'm not a piece of shit, and his turn to purple. So I love that. Even the Sith twist. I can honestly say I did not see it coming. I thought Margraves was going to be the shithead that shows up and just kills everybody once he had him there. I didn't know that he was actually trying to weed out Sith. So I don't know. But to me, Nick, the reason I ended up waffling between the top three and then settling on this one being number one was for the fact that it just felt the most complete, and it felt like its creators have plans to, I believe said, this could already be a trilogy. You know what I mean? Like it's already an established Star Wars trilogy. So that's why Ninth Jedi was number one for me.
Yeah, and I have similar feelings about it. It was my number two. So I agree that this one definitely had a tale that wasn't necessarily linked to anything else either. Like a lot of the other shorts are linked to either like the reign of the Galactic Empire or something like that, like some other established piece of history in Star Wars that we already know, while the Ninth Jedi essentially establishes a timeline and a set of history all on its own. So I was a huge fan of that. Yeah. And like you mentioned too, with the lightsaber, seeing the Ninth Jedi, I think her name in it was Kara or something like that. Like seeing her essentially take one of the lightsabers that the Smith was making and kind of wield it. And at first you see it as like this translucent blade. Oh yeah,
like I'm glad you brought that up. That was the other. That's just fucking cool to think that way. Like, hey, the blade will not form fully unless it senses a Jedi, and ultimately she got it to turn green. So yeah.
I mean, there were multiple elements of this too that were so awesome that makes it like kind of the upper echelon of it. Like you mentioned in the little in the notes you put, the speeder bike chase was fantastic.
Loved it.
Like that was top notch. All of the lightsaber fights were just so awesome. And finally getting to see when she's using the blade that color change to green, and everything else. I mean, it was really just a superb piece of storytelling. And I mean, for an episode that was, sub 20 minutes long, I mean, it's pretty awesome to be able to do what they did in that short amount of time.
Definitely. All right, so I'll since we're on our number ones, I'll just scroll down to your number one, which I believe was Lope and Ocho, right?
Yes, Lop and Ocho was my number one. So the reason that I picked this is because this has everything that Star Wars for. It has the family element. It has the ultimate battle between good and evil. I think that the fight that you see between Lop and Ocho at the end is just magnificent. And it really does feel like they plucked. It feels like this is lived in, and that's what I really like about the story. It felt like this was something that was happening while we were watching everything else in Star Wars, and we just didn't see it. And this studio just plucked it out, and they were like, hey, there's all this conflict between the Galactic Empire and the Resistance going on, or the Rebellion going on all throughout the galaxy. Let me show you a story that you've never seen before, and it fits in so perfectly. And not only that, it had one of my favorite shots in the entire series in it, where like at the end when Lop and Ocho are fighting against each other, and they're like essentially fighting in like a town, but they do a pull-out shot, and it's them in their duel, but in the background you see the cherry blossom trees. And that was just like it for me. I was like, holy shit, this was so great. But then also how it ends in a way where I was like, fuck, like please continue this story, because there was no finality.
End. Right. It's
like
wide
there's
open.
no finality to it. And I just love the family dynamic of it. The Ocho essentially being the adopted daughter who takes up the mantle of the family after
Lop was Lop was the rabbit. Was
the bunny girl. Like flip it. So Lop like taking up that mantle while Ocho defects and fights against her own father on the side of the Empire. I mean, I just thought, and then it also had like another reason why I attached myself to it is because it had traditional Japanese elements in there too, like their homestead and just like the
whole lightsaber ceremony. I mean, come on, that's essentially was Samurai 101, right? I mean, that was the master sitting down with either his family member and like, listen, you've earned this, and that's kind of what I said. I love the honor tone that every episode had, but also the hyper focus on the importance of the weapon, which directly correlates to Japanese culture anyways. I mean, the samurai culture formed Japan. They were a warrior culture, and everything was about that weapon, right? Yeah, and your honor. I mean, you would kill yourself if you dishonored even your weapon. You would have to, seppuku. So, I had La Pinocho at 6. Not to say it was junky. But like Nick, in my notes, cool visuals, neat take on the Empire's abuse. Like Nick said, this is the one episode where it begins, essentially, in my mind, right around the Bad Batch timeline, where the Empire's kind of moving in and protecting all these planets now. And you could see the Star Destroyers kind of hovering over whatever planet they were on. There was a time jump to it a bit. This one to me had what I call this squeaky anime tone, and I think that's why it dropped a bit. At least early on, it really with the two girls, and it's that type, like that shit, like Toad talk. But also, like Nick, I thought the betrayal was a beautifully shot scene where she essentially uses blood or something to mark her eyes and then cuts off her hair, which is a huge thing. And like Nick said, I had a note, great duel here too. I didn't think this was the best duel of the series, but I loved the fight. The mantra to the fight was literally, like Nick said, the adopted daughter coming to defend the surrogate father who really didn't even want Lope in the beginning, right? It was Ocho was the one that talked that into doing this. So it was good. It was down at 6 for me, but definitely a very interesting way to kind of take in some of Star Wars' main themes between light and dark, the Empire's abuse, so on and so forth. All right.
Yeah.
So I'll go back up to my number 2, and I know this is going to be controversial because a lot of people had the twins in the shit bucket. But to me, the twins is what I would explain to someone if they're like, yo, what's Star Wars like in anime? I'd be like, check this shit out. Like, if you want to see something that's just so fucking like cocaine riddled, methamphetamine fueled Star Wars, watch the twins. Notes, love the cubic design, love the concept of the twin Vaders and cloning and the dark side force cloning. I mean, crazy shit, but stuff that is happening in Star Wars. Here's the brilliance of me, just fucking cool. Droids and all the mirrors to Luke and Leia. To me, I felt like the twins were Luke and Leia. Clearly the RDO or whatever they were calling was R2, and then you had the C-3PO mirror, so I love that. And just like I said, it was anime on steroids to me. You had lightsaber whips, and then you had this, and I hate to keep saying it because it is full of foul language, but this is exactly what I wrote down when I watched it happen. Fucking hyperspace hood riding with mega fuck saber holdo maneuver. Okay? Think about that. Homeboy stands on the nose of an X-Wing.
I know.
Takes this insanely sized lightsaber and makes it like the size of the galaxy. And then as he's cutting through his sister's ship and into her chest plate, he has his droid send him into hyperspace to cut through it and the ship itself. And I'm just like, this is absolute insanity, but I'm loving it. It was like rock and roll fucking Star Wars. I mean, the over the topness is what sold this one to me. I love batshit crazy stuff, and this embraced it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I mean, I love this one too. I had this at 6, but like I told Matt, like my middle 3 were basically interchangeable. To me, this one could be as high as 4. But again, it's the manic. If you have ever watched anime and you've seen some of like the crazy stuff that happens, dude, like this is even at like in Dragon Ball Z, where it's just insane bullshit, people throwing planets down on each other and all. That's kind of what the twins had to feel.
This makes over 9,000 seem silly. You know what I mean? Like, this was over 9 trillion. It was just crazy. And the whole lightsaber holdo thing, that's why I think I was just sitting there like cackling out of happiness, like, what the fuck is this? Like, woohoo! Like, I can't believe that they got this past Lucasfilm. I mean, I think that's part of the reason I love it. Is like, holy shit, this is literally Star Wars on every type of speed plus LSD.
Yeah, no, it was really awesome. I love the style of animation of it because it just exacerbates everything that they did in it. Like it made all of the crazy shit that they did look even more crazy. So yeah, I was a big fan.
Like he does that move, Nick, just to pop her armor off. Yeah. But it results in a Gemini class Star Destroyer getting totaled and his sister's suit breaking, but it made sense. And then, he crashes on Tatooine and you get that great end shot of literally, there's no way the X-Wing would stick like that unless, I don't know how far the nose was in the sand, but it was literally like bouncing on its nose. But hey, that was the twins for you. So there you go. All right. So Nick, what was your number 2?
My 2 was the Ninth Jedi. So
okay, so we covered that. So how about your number 3? Did we align on here?
No. So my number 3 is actually your last one. So my number 3 is Tatooine Rhapsody.
All right. Well, no, I like this because I think this one got a bad rap from most fans. So go ahead.
Yeah. So for me, like everything that we've seen so far is pretty like cut and dry standard to Star Wars lightsaber play, cool battles and stuff like that. I really like Tatooine Rhapsody because one, it kind of felt like My Hero Academia to me, which if you don't watch anime, that means nothing to you, but it's more of like it's more of a fun, not necessarily serious style. Yeah, exactly. I love the story that was told too. Like this band has this hut in it, like this hut is the guitar player, and essentially his father is like, no, you can't you're not going to do this. We're just going to fucking take you out. Like if you're disgracing the name of our family. And I just loved kind of the mini story that was told about this band saying like, hey, we're not going to let these people fuck with our bandmate. We're going to go bring it to them. I love the animation style because it was kind of that more chibi-esque style of animation.
That's what Chibi Fett stole it for me. You had to love that miniaturized version of Fett rolling in, but it's Tem's voice. That's what really sold it.
Yeah, and I think that's the only one that actually uses established characters from actual Star Wars canon. So it was cool to see the Chibi Fett in there. And then I just love it at the end too, where they're like, hey man, you know what? If we're going to go out playing a fucking concert. And they just fucking put on a concert at the pod racing grounds on Tatooine. And I just thought it was a super feel good thing. It was so different than all of the other shorts too, that when I saw that, I was like, man, this is just fucking kick ass. Like cool ass music, awesome animation styles. There's even some fight scenes in there where you're like, man, I didn't expect to see fight scenes in this.
Dude, I'm not going to lie. I didn't know I needed Star Wars punk rock in my life, but after Tatooine Rhapsody, I'm like, that's a good fucking song. Everyone here, you know you were bobbing your head or tapping your feet to that song they sing as they're trying to save Dread Fett. I mean, even my kid who was like, I always try to sell this stuff to her, and I could tell she was tuning out after like the first episode or two. But even Charlie, once the song started, kind of got up out of her seat and was like, yeah, I'm kind of digging this. It's like, he jumps up in the air. He's like, the kid used to be a Jedi, so he's got some skills. It was my number 9. It just, to me, I'm such a serious person in life. Okay. I'm all about dark and gritty and broodiness. This was the one episode, and Nick summed it up perfectly. It is great. It's lighthearted. It's feel good. I mean, my notes right here, just fun with everyone rocking. It really did. It just made you feel good. But I guess for my Star Wars, I don't always just like to feel good. I want some maybe lore mixed in there, maybe some tragedy, this, that, and the other thing. But Chibi Fett, Hut with Dread, Star Wars punk rock, I still think it was an enjoyable short, if anything else.
For sure.
But that's why it was down on number 9 for me. It just didn't quite have the gravity to it in terms of Star Wars-y stuff that the others did. All right, so that was your 3, right?
Yes.
So my 3 was The Duel, which overwhelmingly seems to be everyone's favorite. I'm guessing that's because Lucasfilm kind of hedged the series on the duel. This is the one that you got the most promo material for. This is the one that they decided to offer up a standalone novel to help flesh out Ronan's story a bit more. And you know, to me, it's clearly one of the top. You know, it's in the top 3, interchangeable. But as Nick and I were saying before we went live, while it looked badass and featured a badass, it was kind of a one and done tale. It's like, all right, cool, self-contained. Not much really happened outside of a duel. It did feel very Kurosawa-like. I mean, to me, this is why George made Star Wars. You know, yeah. I think George probably saw the duel in his head when he was thinking about his Star Wars and how the samurai movies influenced him on those films and the Jedi and the Sith. So I thought the animation style was one of the coolest fucking things I've ever seen. It looked like 3D scribble art. Right?
Yeah.
I love the color splash by everything being black and white outside of the machinery, really. I mean, any machine, that's where you'd get the lights. Lots of nods to Star Wars. I mean, we had First Order troopers, shore trooper helmets, the bounty hunters essentially coming in to help the village out, which I believe someone points out in our question of the week. That was kind of a nod to a Clone Wars episode that I do remember, where even the Jedi kind of team up with the bounty hunters to help this small little village. The fight was fun, but Nick, to me, I loved how he killed the other Sith. Because, you know, Sith, we don't usually look at them as being cunning. They're just angry and forceful with their attacks. Where this one, you know, you don't really know. I mean, I'm sure we could go read it now, but to me, the Ronin is, you know, he's a former Sith who is now on the path of righteousness, right? He's using his skills and his former red blades to essentially hunt down other Sith and kill them and steal their crystals. But to me, the way he kills her with strategy and tactics versus brute force was probably my favorite part of the duel itself and the full episode. And the end, just, you know, it felt very Kurosawa. You know, he did the deed, the little kids in the town square, and he looks like, you know, I don't need to keep this. It'll do better for all of you. You know, may the force be with you, type of shit. So I loved the style, loved the tone. It just, I don't know. It felt like this could be it. Like, you know, the duel is the duel, and that's that. I didn't really feel that I needed to see this very strict with his words type of guy carry on. Not, yeah. I would, but I wasn't like Ninth Jedi going, oh shit, I want to see where the fuck they're walking to and what they're going to go do. Not the case with the duel for me.
So, yeah, I largely agree. I had the duel at 4, so just one spot under. I do like the visual style of it, and I think that, like, we pretty much align on, like, I wish where everything else there was like a through line, like a story that is almost told in its entirety throughout the episode. This one really wasn't. It was literally like it was called. It was literally just a fight, and that was kind of it. So I kind of wanted a bit more from it. I guess that's why they have a whole novel about this character, so they can give you more.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah, so I thought that there were cool elements, but also I feel like for something called the duel, I don't even think it was the best duel in the series.
Not at all. Like, you're 100% correct. Yeah.
So there were elements that I liked. I did like the black and white choice. It did feel very Kurosawa. I do like the garb decisions for both of the main characters. So like the main bad girl Sith, and then the Ronin.
Oh, I mean, these are action figures begging to be made just because of the way how badass they look. Both of those lead. I mean, fuck, I would take the little droid with the straw Ronin hat too. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah, I mean, everything was really cool in it. I just felt like there was a distinct lack of not even exposition, but like character building that happened in all of the other ones. I mean, yeah, you only have between 15 and 20 minutes for most of these series or for most of these episodes, but almost all of them did a better job of like telling you an actual story than what the duel did.
I'm with you, Nick. To me, this short felt like it was the end of a movie. We just didn't get to see any of the lead up, like,
exactly. Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, if anything, it definitely, I think it honored the mantra of what a Ronin is, though, right? I mean, literally a soldier with no family that just goes from town to town to town and usually ends up having to kick some ass and do a good deed. But I mean, that really was it. I mean, it was kind of short and sweet, but didn't feel like there was any more meat that needed to be picked off the bones.
Yeah. So good overall, but definitely I feel like was kind of in the middle of the whole series. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So we've covered at least through 3, right? We're on 4.
So we're on your 4 now. Yes.
Right. Okay. So my 4 was The Elder.
Yes.
And what I liked here, I mean, just to be kind of a jerk off, I felt like maybe it was the time of night, but looking at the Master, it felt like this is what Keanu Reeves would look like as a Jedi, but if Han Solo did his voice. I mean, it really at times sounded like younger Harrison Ford voicing this guy. But again, it was late at night. You never know what type of condition my mind is late at night. I could have been hearing things. I did have early on, Nick, I felt like this one was a bit dry. It was just kind of the Master and the Apprentice talking about shit as they're building towards, the reports of this Elder and the ship that they find. But I'll tell you what, once the Elder shows up and kills, or we think kills the Padawan, this episode to me really kind of turned up the dial on its kick-ass factor. And the Master versus the Elder battle was fucking rad. I think it was definitely one of the best duels to be featured. I even put maybe best duel. I love the shit talking from the Elder, like, oh yes, finally I get to fight someone. I haven't fought someone with this amount of power in decades. And just watching the Master essentially toy with him because he is a Sith on the decline. And really, maybe this is too real life, but I fucking found the message at the end that the Master was relaying to the Padawan to be just beautiful and true. And it's like he was kind of explaining the Sith and why he was so easily defeated, but he was also essentially explaining to the Padawan that, you know what, pal, I have peaked too. I'm only going to get weaker. You are now the one that is on the rise. And it just kind of told a great tale of life and the different stages of life that a warrior will face. When you're young, nothing can stop you. You're only going to get stronger. Then you hit that peak, and that's when you realize, oh shit, I'm in the back 9. That warrior I used to be, those skills I used to have, they'll never be that strong or that reliable again. And then you hit where the Elder was at, and you may still think you are who you were when you were at Master level, but because of age and the decline that comes with that, you are a shell of your former self. So, here's how I ended it. Good. All right. So that was the last note to myself on the Elder.
I agree. So you had this at 4. I had this at 5. So literally kind of right behind it. I love the drunken Master. I mean, like, this is essentially the Sith guy is like the prototypical drunken master.
That's a good call. Yep.
Yeah, that you would see in like Japanese, like kung fu movies or like old like Japanese anime. Even in like Dragon Ball Z, you see it with Master Roshi and stuff. So like having that archetype character in there was really fun. I love the design of his sabers, how they are more sword-like than blade than like typical lightsaber. I was
going to say, I also love the visual choice that they went with the saturated look versus, most lightsabers, for those of us that make them digitally, you typically start with a white color and then you only add color through a glow effect. So the lightsaber itself still looks mostly white with the saber's color glow forming the color. Here, everything went for that oversaturated look. And I, as Nick said, having them shaped like true katanas, it did add kind of a visual bump to a traditional saber. Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was a super cool little piece to it, and just throughout the series too, how they took design liberties with lightsabers. Even in the Ninth Jedi, when Hargrave takes one of the sabers from the Sith, and then when he ignites it, not only do you get the color change, but if you notice right at the bottom of it, he has like a hilt guard, like a hand guard that
made
like
out of energy though,
itself.
right? It was like
exactly.
Force energy. Yeah, you're right. Formed a hilt or hand guard, whatever the fuck they're called.
Yeah. So I thought that was super cool. The battle itself was awesome. I do agree that there was a bit of a slow build to this one that I was kind of like, got me a little bit antsy. I was like, okay, where are we getting here? Because you just keep hearing in the beginning, like there's a presence, there's this dark side presence.
It's like,
you don't know where it's at.
Let's get on with it, Qui-Gon.
Yeah. It's like you get to it, but then when you get to it, the payoff was strong. It was a great battle between those two, and I do agree that was a good message. But yeah, I love the Sith Master because he was just he's so opposite of what you would think as a Sith as well. Like you see Sith, and every time you've seen a Sith, they're this no nonsense, hard nosed, I'm going to kill you. Like there's no play in a Sith. And then you see this guy, and he literally looks like he just had a couple of of things of sake, and he's ready to go. And like he's like, I just want to fight. I haven't had a good fight in years.
Like he literally was just looking for some fisticuffs. So like he has fully embraced the dark side. He's just looking to kill and fight. And I do love how the Master took him out by just placing his saber on his chest and igniting it, like almost shooting him. I know. It's fucking badass. Told you he was John Wick. I knew it. All right, so I guess that means we can go to my 5 since you just talked about your 5, right? I mean, we're still caught up. I don't want to shortchange anyone. All right, so my 5 came in at the Village Bride, and I may blame the intern a bit on this one not quite playing out the way it maybe should have to me the first time I watched it, because this is the one I think he probably would put at number 1, and we are on a text chain as we were going through these, and he was like, hey, man, Village Bride to me is just wow. So it kind of goes into my I don't like reading reviews, because even that little line from a friend that I trust, and I trust his Star Wars opinion, I had preconceived notions about the Village Bride. So when I came in to watch it, it didn't quite hit as hard as Kung Fu was pumping it up. So I think that's what kind of led the Village Bride dropping the 5 on my list. But in terms of my note, being a fan of Resistance, one of the few and far between, I loved hearing Christopher Sean's voice again. All right, he was the voice of Kaz from Resistance. So he was a main player, and he voiced the bridegroom, I guess, if you will, in this episode. I also like that I believe this is the only episode that kind of had a prequels focus. I know it wasn't taking place during the prequels, but it actually had the battle droids, and it actually talked about how these warlords took over the Separatist army, and that's what they were using to fuck with this village. And then obviously I think the end where whatever the fuck this Jedi was trying to figure out, and she does figure it out and just says, I am Jedi, and then does what I would again consider to be a textbook definition of an anime samurai kill, right, Nick? Because she jazzes up her Force shoes, and then blink of an eye, she has already sliced through that dickhead who was about ready to shoot one of the villagers. So to me, I feel like this episode, above all the others, really channeled the low-key honor mantra of the Japanese culture. Like, I felt like this whole episode was all about, at least how I perceived the culture to be, patient. Honor is sometimes more important than anything else. Family, tradition. That's what this episode felt like to me.
Yeah, so for me, this was my last one. And like I said, to kind of kick this off, I was like, I hated having to rank them to a certain point, because it's just like, then it becomes like, it's like, oh, well, you didn't like it.
Yeah,
or
I know.
You thought this was bad. Like, and that's not what I think at all. Like, in my opinion, the story that was being told was very good. I like how they set up like we have to essentially give one of our villagers over to the warlord every year to sate this agreed upon deal that we have, so they don't destroy the village and all this other stuff. I mean, I like the tale that was being told. I just thought it took a little bit too long to get to what I thought was the cool part, which obviously is the end. That being said, I think that her saber design, even though you only see it for maybe 30 seconds, like
winner chicken
awesome.
Dinner. Yeah, probably the best.
I mean, it was fucking great. I loved it. Like you said, the execution move made me feel like I was playing
Ghosts.
What you call it? Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima again. Like that, it was great. I do like the animation style here too. I just felt like if you have as short a time as you have, the amount of exposition in it just felt a little long.
That's where I was at, because I was like, all right, who are these two fuckers in the woods, and why they keep staring at these people? Like, let's get to it. I mean, I think there's deeper meaning behind the lead character and the fact that she was covering her face, and at the end she realized, like, fuck that, I am a Jedi. I don't know if she was a Jedi and she broke bad or what. But the exposition didn't help with any of that, and I think, like Nick said, that's what ultimately left me not feeling as awesome after I got through The Village Bride. It still felt great, but I was like, hey, things could have happened a little quicker, in my opinion. Yeah.
So,
all right.
Overall, not bad, but I feel like it's funny to say that, like, a 14, 15 minute long short could have been shorter, but I feel like if you chop like 2 minutes of that exposition, it would move a little bit faster, and you could, make it. I think
you're right. I think you go right to the moment where the Jedi and whoever the fuck the old guy was, her master, I don't know. I mean, again, I was like, who are these people? I think when they're watching the other main subjects, Christopher Sean and the woman, do whatever the fuck they did, like the mountains and shit started going up and down. I was like, what the hell's going on here? Yeah. I think you could have started right there and then had a little bit of the dinner scene, and then you're kind of into the meat of the episode. So yeah, I'm with you. It definitely felt like it was trying to be a little too cute with the deep thought and, like I said, that low-key honor, like brooding, thinking about reflection, all that shit. I was waiting for him to go sit at a koi pond and come up with a haiku like Lord Sakai used to do in Ghost.
Exactly. But
all right, so
still not.
We covered my 6 when we talked about your 1. So what is your 6, Nick? So
my 6 is actually twin. So it was your 2.
Okay, so we're good.
We covered both of them. And I will say that our next 2 are in line. So our next 2 were the same.
So Tiobe 1 came in 7 for you too. All right.
Yes.
Notice that it starts out with him being referred to as Tiobe 1, and then eventually they start calling him Toby. I think that all comes into the whole Pinocchio theme of this episode. But here's kind of what I had, Nick, and I don't know if you felt the same, but right off the bat, I'm like, this is fucking Mega Man in Star Wars. Yeah. I mean, the Jedi Master, who we find out that he was a Jedi Master, looks just like fucking Dr. Light. And I will argue, if we would line up models of Tiobe 1 and Mega Man himself, the Blue Bomber, it's the really same fucking build. I mean, they got the same body shape. They even have like those pronounced ear cups. I just got strong Mega Man vibes from Tiobe 1. I loved kind of look of this universe. I loved all the wall carvings that kind of recounted the old rebellion and the Empire. I thought those chalk art video sequences that would bring Toby's dreams to life were really cool looking. That's a unique way to animate something.
Yeah.
And just Nick, the concept of a droid becoming a Jedi, I thought was pretty unique and interesting. And
exactly.
And finally, the Voltron kill, right? He gets one of his little buddy droids, and somehow he forms a jetpack and just like, and fucking slices homie in half. So it was just fun. And then obviously you had the old direct tip of the hat to Luke's T-16 Skyhopper there at the end.
Yeah. I mean, there were a lot of things that I liked about this. And again, like with a ranking system with both me and Matt having this at 7, people would be like, oh, well, you could skip it. But I mean, I will say when I first started off, I'm like, oh, this is going to be like the kiddie one. It's going to be like the most kid friendly. Like it's the animation style lends itself to that. But there are some fucking awesome stuff. I think the battle at the end between Toby and the bad guy was amazing, because
not good
like in that fight, you get to see Toby essentially learn during the fight,
become
get better
a Jedi
progressively. Yeah, it was a super awesome way to do that, and to like show his coming into his own as a Jedi. Like you said too, the concept of a droid being a Jedi is something that we usually didn't think of. But if you think about the way that the Force is described and how it's described in this episode, the Force encompasses everything. Even Yoda says that, the trees, the rock. I mean, you would imagine that extends to, droids and the materials that are made for droids. I mean,
they're all like, if we want to get super Neil deGrasse Tyson here, any element that would go into making a droid probably started as a natural element, right?
Exactly. So they're all of these pieces are imbued with the Force. And as we know, like in Star Wars, droids can be sentient, free beings. So there's nothing that says that a droid can't be a Jedi. I mean, we've just never seen it in traditional Star Wars. So Science Saru taking that like what you would typically seem to be as like fodder, a droid, and turning it into the hero of this story was super great. I love the tip of the hat to like, hey, we're trying to turn Tatooine into an oasis again. Like at one point, this planet was filled with life, and then all of a sudden, over the years, it became a desert, and it was, Toby's master's plight to.
Hey Nick, I want to hear your take on this. How much time do you think this episode encompassed?
That's a good question, because I was thinking about that towards the end too.
I think decades.
It's so hard.
Like after the Sith comes the first time, and the Doc locks Toby essentially in a tomb.
Yeah,
and by the time he comes out, like then he start to like the science actually starts to happen. So I believe that this episode probably was decades worth of time. I'm not going to say hundreds, because we had the same Sith character come back and be like, I thought I rid this planet of the Jedi and blah, blah, blah. So,
yeah.
But I feel like this one probably took up the most time in universe out of all the episodes.
Yeah, I agree. And then, like, even into the end where like, Toby does figure out the formula and essentially turns Tatooine
everything's
into
green, and then
he
leaves. So yeah, probably could have even been another 10 years after the duel. So.
Yeah, so I, like even though it's 7, I still think that it was fun. That duel at the end was awesome. Like you said, the moment where his droid friend essentially becomes a jetpack, and I was like, dude, that was.
Well, I mean,
because at first I was
Toby was getting fucked up. Like, I mean, the guy stabbed his hand and chopped his arm off. I mean, you even had that nod to the franchise, losing appendages as a young Jedi going up against a Sith they probably shouldn't be fighting, aka Luke Skywalker, aka Anakin Skywalker. So I know this one kind of gets ragged on like Tatooine Rhapsody, but I think if you kind of peel back some of its layers and really take it in, it hits some good notes.
It does. So I was a fan. So for the next one for both of us is, I think it's Akakiri. I may have said it wrong because you have Anakiri in here. But
well, I know it's spelled right. I don't know how to fuck to say it. So Anakiri is what I would imagine.
Yeah.
Just check for me. So, I believe I spelled it right. I'm not going to say
It is not spelled right. It's AKAKIRI.
Okay, so Akakiri.
Akakiri. So
we're both at 8 here, or you were?
We're both at 8.
Okay.
Yeah, we're both at 8 because my 9 is Village Bride.
Go ahead. You take the lead on this one.
Yeah. So Akakiri, the reason I have this one down here is because it was another one that was a lot of exposition to like get to essentially what was the end game,
which is great.
And the problem for me with this is like the exposition was telling you what was going to happen when they got there. So it's not like they were laying out any other like important details. It's literally like the main adventuring party was like, okay, we're going to find this Sith who has taken over, like the daughter of the Shogun, or the daughter of the Emperor has turned into a Sith. We're going to go find her and kill her and restore order. And they were telling you that as they were going there. And then when they get there, that's kind of what happens, except there's a little twist at the end where...
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you didn't know, because he kept having those visions, and you're like, well, what the fuck's he seeing? But then once it gets there, you're like, okay, now I know what he did.
And like, I guess the biggest thing for me, for the reason that I put it at 8, was like, I actually had to watch the end a couple times, because I was like, is this a vision? Is this like... Is he living in his vision now?
Yeah.
Because you get the entire. I mean, like, first off, it's a kind of a shitty fight. Like the fight almost doesn't happen. Like you get like one clash between the Sith Shogun and then the Jedi who's escorting Misa to the palace, and then he essentially just puts his blade away, and he's like, "Well, I'm not good enough." And I guess that's what they're trying to get across in this, is that like. He was in such a despair that like he couldn't even stand to fight for what he knew was right. And then the turn to the dark side was it was like you said, it had major Anakin.
It's the same thing to me. It was a direct mirror of that moment, albeit his emperor actually backed up their claim. I mean, she really did know how to bring people back from dying, unlike Sidious, who just completely owned Anakin's dumbass with that little story. So
yeah,
I mean, I think seeing a Jedi as a cowboy was cool. All right, I had that put down. I liked the look of him, but like Nick said, and I felt bad because I'm pretty sure my man Takei was in this one, voicing one of the vagabonds that sold him out.
Those were the best people in this whole episode.
But the whole, I'd say the first 10 minutes, you're just sitting there like, just fucking do something already. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, you found the girl, you got these bozos helping you, they'll probably sell you out, big deal. All right, we get to the temple, big deal. There's a flashback. Okay, now we know he loves her and why he loves her and why he's protecting her. So it didn't really get interesting to me until the duel itself, and where you get that direct reference to the choice Anakin had to make. It was slightly different. I mean, here he did tap into the dark side prior to committing to the dark side, and that's what kind of clouded him and sent him into the rage that killed the girl in the first place, because the Sith Shogun just slapped a mask on her and wheeled her out with all the other troops that this guy was just mowing down in his murderous Sith-like rage. But when she makes the deal and he actually, I mean, literally gets down on one knee, yes, my master, I mean, very Anakin-esque. But like we said, unlike Anakin, she actually pays off, and he does bring her back to life. And I think this is where the beauty was in this episode, and really just the sadness of it all. He knew the moment he made that choice that, yes, he was going to save the love of his life, but at the same time, he was also going to lose her for the rest of his.
Yeah.
Because he crossed over, he knew what he did, he knew the decision he made, and he knew he had just become the pet of this Vader lady, Palpatine lady, and that's that. I mean, even the girl, as she's resurrected, just is like watching in disbelief, like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah,
my man did save me, but he's also has betrayed me in the same sentence.
Yeah, I feel like if they would have, because essentially they put all the cool shit in this episode in the last 3 minutes. I feel like if you would have had more flashbacks, like when he was having these episodes in the earlier parts of the episode, if you would have had the flashbacks that showed him talking to his Jedi master and like setting this up as you get there, and then instead of trying to hit it in essentially a minute and a half and tell you like this story of like his failure, his succumbing to the dark side, all within this one tiny scene. If you would have had those other conversations along the way, the impact would have been bigger, because you would have been looking for it, like, oh my God, is he going to do it? Is he going to turn to the dark side? Is he not going to turn? Is he going to, what is he going to do? But you don't even have time to contemplate that, because by the time you figure out, like, oh, he's been struggling with this for a while, the decision happens almost instantaneously after that. And I feel like if you would have had a little bit more time with that, like him stewing on that and knowing that he's had these struggles, then it could have been a little bit better. But it's funny too, because 7 and 8 were the 2 Science Saru episodes,
and we were aligned on those.
Yeah, and we were aligned on those. And you could also see, if you look at those 2 episodes, the wildly different animation styles for the same.
Yeah, I mean,
studio,
it's not even close. I mean, that's the brilliance of artists and their minds. Like the ones we talk about here on the Star Wars Time Show. So there you go. That is the SWTS full breakdown of Star Wars Visions. We gave our opinion of the series as a whole. And then we had our rankings, which were kind of different outside the 7 and 8 there, which made for a fun chat. So if anything else, if you've been on the fence and you're already a D+ subscriber, you might as well at least go dabble in these. Maybe use one of our lists to kind of formulate your watch order. If you're kind of a little bit of a psycho like myself, maybe you go through my list, and that'll help you get through the 9 shorts. If you're more calm with your approach, maybe follow what Nick recommended. But overall, a great spin on Star Wars, and well worth my whatever $3.99 for September.
Disney. Yeah. So one thing I want to call it, one six shooter says he's a little disappointed that they were all basically Jedi stories and there was no exploration of Mando or anything like that. I mean, that doesn't surprise me, considering that these are Japanese studios, and the crux of their culture is around samurai, and that is essentially what their culture and even their way of life now is kind of centered around, is like samurai and honor culture, where I guess you could say that they could have brought in Mandalorians and stuff like that, but the importance of the blade, the way of the blade, and everything like that is so ingrained in Japanese culture.
They would probably have had to taken it with the Darksaber in mind. Because, I mean, let's be real, the Mandos are very samurai-like in terms of their warrior culture. But yeah, I think that the story would have had to revolve around the Darksaber and its importance to their faction versus just their ability to kick ass and take names and bitchin' looking armor. But I don't know, man. I like I said, how does Disney make their choices on renewals or to invest more money in a project like this? I don't know. I don't know if they had metrics up on a whiteboard somewhere that said, hey, if enough people tune in on Wednesday and like this, we'll do more. Or if we notice a slight spike during this week in subscriptions, we'll do more. I think in terms of what the artists put out based on what they are asked to do, they all deserve another chance to keep this going. But I don't have the cash that Disney does. I don't make those decisions. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I don't know. I have a feeling the force is tickling my taint that we will see another season of Star Wars Visions.
Hope so. I definitely hope so. So awesome stuff. If y'all haven't checked it out yet, please do. Like Matt said, if you do want to do a kind of a binge, you can probably get through all of them in like 2.5, 3 hours. I would definitely recommend kind of spreading them out over a little while so you can get it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's just, to me, anything that's not a cohesive story for multiple hours, you're eventually going to start to get a little fried. Like, okay, I just learned about a whole new cast of characters, and now I'm going to do it again, and then again and again. And, maybe that's why I thought that Akakiri was a little slow and dumb, because it was one of the last ones. I'm like, well, fuck, hurry up. I've been here for an hour and 45 minutes. Can we please move on?
Yeah.
All right, man, before we get into our Boba Fett special, we have a word from our Sponsors, that's right. Footy is back, and our friends at Manscaped are here with a masterclass to get you ready for this new season. The leaders in men's grooming have done it again. It just launched their 4th generation performance package. Included is their new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. The 4.0 will have even Paris Saint-Germain jealous of your well-groomed package. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with the new Performance Package 4.0 by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping if you use our code SWTS. You know, I was kind of hoping for a few Ted Lasso mentions in this copy, but I guess we're not going to get it. But anyways, Nick, I actually just trimmed my package right before we went live today. I had some free time. I found out that I probably should read emails from work a little closer than I do because we were supposed to have a day of service today, but that was canceled. And they essentially say, have a mental health day, which means it's a day off, right? So
You got the day off.
I had some extra time, and Nick had to do his thing and meetings and whatnot on Tuesday. So I was like, you know what? My balls have been getting kind of extra sweaty at night. That means the pubes are probably a little bit longer than they need to be. So I broke out the Lawnmower 4.0 just before we went live and went ahead and shaved the nether regions and my pits. And it was beautiful. You know, no nicks, no cuts, thanks to that ceramic head that the Lawnmower 4.0 has. I even put on some of my ball deodorant afterwards because, no more hair. I wanted it to smell nice and fresh. But I mean, you get all this stuff in the Performance Package 4.0. So you get the Lawnmower 4.0. You get the Weed Whacker, which is a fantastic tool for those gentlemen out there, or ladies like myself, that tend to grow more hair out of their orifices these days than the top of their head. Right, my friend? You know what I'm talking about. So with the Performance Package 4.0, you're going to get the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker. You're also going to get what have become my favorite products from Manscaped, and that is the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. Highly recommend. I use it at least once a day. And then the Crop Reviver Ball Toner, just in case you need a little bit of a refresh later on in the day. But Nick, the best part is if you go with the Performance Package 4.0, you're also going to get a kick-ass travel bag and a pair of Manscaped's highly breathable boxers.
They're great.
So my friends, get out there, hit up manscaped.com to get 20% off plus free shipping with the code SWTS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code SWTS at manscaped.com. Kick some overgrown pubes, hairs, and grass this season with Manscaped.
Nice.
All right. So, on to this next topic here, which actually dropped the moment we ended the show last week.
Yeah.
And that is the announcement that Disney's going all in with this every year now. They're going to start calling it Disney Plus Day. Think about it. The first one was last year, I believe, in December. That's where Nick and I kind of proclaimed a new Star Wars Day, because at this event they just were like, we're doing this show and this show and that show and Visions and Ahsoka and this and that. Well, last week, whatever white guy's running that company now, he was like, listen, November 12th, it will be known as Disney Plus Day, and they're going to use this day moving forward to reveal new content from its tentpole franchises, aka Star Wars, Marvel. All right. So what we learned is going to happen at this technically the first Disney Plus Day on November 12th, is that there is going to be, I'm just scrolling down here, a special celebrating the origins and legacy of Star Wars' legendary bounty hunter, Boba Fett. All right, so, and here's my spin on this. Here's what I think it's going to be, and I kind of put this in the article for those that care to read words. I think this special is going to be a mix of those Legends shorts that they did for the Marvel characters that got their own TV shows on Disney Plus. Nick, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They were like 7-minute vignettes on like, oh, here's Loki and this is what he's done up until now. So just so, casual fans could kind of get caught up on the bigger picture of Boba Fett and Star Wars, so they're prepared for his solo series. So I think it's going to be a combination of that, like for the dopes out there, like, hey, here's Bozo Fett back in the movies, here's Neo Fett from The Mandalorian, and here he is in Book of Boba Fett, which is coming out in December. So I think you're going to get one of those Marvel Legends types of deliveries with some of that B-roll shit that we saw for the first ever Mandalorian series at Celebration, right, Nick? Because it was kind of like, it wasn't a trailer and it wasn't necessarily a sizzle reel. It was more interviews with the main cast and crew with some B-roll footage sprinkled in.
Yeah, I mean, basically the big thing that we got from that is like you saw the Razor Crest kind of flying. They showed you how they did that. I do think that it's probably going to be a bit of both, kind of like you mentioned, kind of like a retrospective on Boba plus some interviews with Robert Rodriguez, probably the people who are working on Book of Boba. Tim Morrison's probably going to have some words as well.
Yep.
And
Deborah, I would no, not Deborah. Robert, you're right.
Kathleen.
I'm fast forwarding Kenobi here.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the perfect time to do this because literally, I think almost a month to the day after this releases is when the planned release of Book of Boba Fett is. So getting people hyped for it makes sense. But even outside of that, I expect there to be a lot of Star Wars content that's going to come.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because there was a blurb at the end of the press release that here's what it says right here. So blah, 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 Disney Plus Day, which will include breaking news, first looks, new trailers, exclusive clips, and appearances from Disney Plus creators and stars. So I also would not be surprised if we got maybe a sizzle for Kenobi, a trailer for Andor, or a tease for Andor, a tease for Kenobi, maybe even some Bad Batch stuff.
Yeah.
Probably nothing Mando outside of maybe just throwing the title card up there, be like, hey, don't forget, he's still here, and we're doing 2.5. We just called it something different. But I would, at that point in time, I mean, we're talking 6 weeks from now, if not more, a little more. They're going to have plenty of time to cut up something for Kenobi and Andor, which are both confirmed to be wrapped at this point. I guarantee they have some digital shots in the can. So outside of this special celebrating Fett, and yeah, like Bat says, hopefully it's not a new holiday special and he breaks out his blue armor and his tuning fork gun. But I don't believe the special is just going to be all about Book of Boba Fett. I think it's going to be a little bit of a retrospective on the character and his journey so far in Star Wars, and then we'll get a little bit of a look at Book. And maybe it's not even a trailer, because in my mind, I feel like Book, Nick, should be getting some sort of visual preview in October at least.
Yeah, so, I know. Like, trailer time is approaching for this show, so I'm not sure when they're planning to drop it, but I would assume within the next 3 weeks. Like, yeah, I would say so.
And in response to Tones, I think this is all going to take place in the app itself. Like, I think, I would imagine they're just going to have the damn Disney Plus Day stream right in Disney Plus, or why do it, right? I mean, the whole point is to get people into your streaming app to watch the special versus blowing it out on YouTube. So I think the special stuff, will be exclusive to Disney Plus, but if we do get any traditional teasers or sizzle reel stuff, it may make it to YouTube eventually after Disney Plus is done blowing its load on November 12th.
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, we can at least expect this now yearly, and you're going to get a major drop from both Marvel and Star Wars during it, which gives us something to look forward to every November.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be fun.
This one, Nick was kind of making fun of me before we went live, and he
has
even
you. It's just people who put this up there, and then we feel like we have to talk about it.
He has every right to make fun of me, and I think this is a direct result of someone finding out he had more free time than he thought he did today. And this is the story that was floating around, I'd say, last night into this morning. If you're a hardcore Star Wars story sniffer outer like myself, but Diego Luna was interviewed. I think one of his shows is coming out. So naturally, they're going to ask him about Star Wars stuff. That's just your lot in life. If you've acted in Star Wars, any other project you're tied to, you're going to have to talk about Star Wars. But so what? There's always time for Star Wars time, as Diego is learning. But he, I think he sat down and talked with Deadline, and he gave some other know-nothing quotes about Andor to them. I didn't even cover them. The one I went with it's still laughable, but I was like, hey, fuck it. Everyone else is doing it, so why shouldn't the Star Wars Time show let me take a running jump off a cliff? I mean, I'm one of those guys. But here's what Andor said, and if you fall out of your seat, don't sue us, all right? Because this is going to fucking knock your socks off. So he doesn't offer up any juicy plot details, but Mr. Luna did proclaim that you'll definitely see familiar faces. It's like,
that's the whole thing.
Well, yeah, if you've been paying attention, we've already had some of the stars leak some of the familiar faces. Some of the official casting are familiar faces. So I don't know. Like I said, I fell for it. I took the bait. To me, this is like a no shit Sherlock type of story, but I figured at least Nick and I could speculate on some of the familiar faces, at least that we know or we've heard, right? So,
yeah,
Mon Mothma, Saw Gerrera,
yep,
Director Krennic,
yeah,
Tarkin potential, right?
Tarkin, Galen, the next
Galen
big
Erso.
One is what you call it, Organa, Mr. Bail Organa. I mean, we're probably going to see him. He made a little cameo in Rogue One. I mean, you could even like reach as deep into the well as like, are you going to see like some of the secondary casts from Rogue One? Like, are you going to see two tubes again?
Right, or some of the other rebel leaders that weren't necessarily, didn't have large speaking parts, but were in the team shot around the war table there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could bring in any number of people, you probably not Bodhi, because I don't know, he probably wouldn't have defected yet, but you could bring in, I mean, you could even potentially bring in a Harrison Dula. I mean, like that would be huge. I mean, talk about huge, like that would be massive for Star Wars fans like us if you were to bring in Hera and Chopper in real life.
Young Leia. I mean, hell, why not? Fuck it. If you can make CG voice and visual Luke, why not bring back young Leia? I'm sure they'll find a body to slap some digital shit on. Yeah, so it's like, all right, cool. Yeah. I kind of expected to see that in a series that, like, I expect to see familiar faces in Kenobi. It's like,
yeah, but it's also like, you can't not have familiar faces, and this is all within the Rebel Alliance in what is this, like, essentially the middle or the beginning of the war against the Empire.
Yeah, we just don't know.
See familiar people.
We don't know how far back it will truly go from a Rogue One. Like, I know there's been, I don't even want to say rumors. I think it was just out there that you may see a younger Cassian, like right when shit goes sideways, and he does kind of have to get mixed up with people that are on the run and maybe trying to do the right thing against the Empire's iron fist. But yeah, I mean, like Nick said, it's in an established timeline. The bulk of it's going to be in the main Star Wars timeline, the OT timeline, the good one. Although the others have gotten better. Maybe 20 years from now, the sequels will be different if Dave makes enough cartoons to make them make sense, like he did for the prequels. But it's like, I don't know. Sure, Vader, why not? The Emperor, why not? They're all on the fucking table for Andor. Probably even more so than the Kenobi series, because I don't think you want to, blow your wad in Kenobi. You don't need to. You got fucking Kenobi and Vader. That's all you fucking need. It could be those two having Force walkie-talkies with each other, and I would be happy.
Right, I know. Like, you don't need all that much. But yeah, I mean, this one's kind of a no-brainer. But we're
the Star Wars Time show, and there you go. You just got updated with a no shit Sherlock type of post. Bat, we did have a live action Chopper, but I'm with you. I would actually like to see him emote and act like Chopper in live action form, like cram Filoni's ass into that astromech and make him, puppeteer his little arms and fuck you, like that type of shit that Chopper says. So I'm with you too. He obviously could also be a familiar face we see within Andor, but hell, I mean, 2022 is definitely shaping up to be the year of the Star Wars. The only thing they're missing is a feature film, really. We're going to get Andor, Kenobi, Mando, Bad Batch. I mean, wow.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of shit coming down the pipe for 2022. And, then we do have to wait till 2023, unfortunately, for Rogue Squadron. But hey, if all of those pieces of content in 2022 are as good as we expect them to be, then it won't be so bad without a movie. So
it is wild to think. What's it going to be ultimately? 4 years? I never thought that would happen once they got the license, that there'd be a 4-year break between feature Star Wars movies. But hey,
yeah,
TLJ and then the Solo, and then people getting nervous and aborting plans that have been in the work for years. That this is what happens. But I guess the one thing we probably didn't see coming to alleviate this the pain of this delay is the fact that the live action TV has kicked ass. So yeah, it has been a nice kind of stopgap in between Tross and whatever the fuck Rogue Squadron's going to be.
Above and beyond the expectations for live action TV. So yeah, that's been awesome.
We got a good question here in the stream. We got Brittany Taylor asking, what are the chances Thrawn shows up in Boba Fett? I still think they keep him off the table for his actual screen debut, like Tones is saying, in Ahsoka. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he spoke of by name.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still think Book of Boba is going to try to stick to Mando's universe more so than what is springing out of Mando's universe to create the Ahsoka universe.
Yeah. And, eventually I know that, the initial thought with these live action shows was that there would be an ultimate kind of event that kind of brings all of them together.
Yeah, it's going to happen, just not yet.
And I imagine that given the status of Thrawn in the Star Wars universe, that he's going to be like the first Thanos. Like he's going to be their first big villain.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Gideon was not, right? I mean, Gideon's in shackles at this point in time. And he clearly had a superior of some sort, which at this point, based on what we learned from the Ahsoka episode, could very well be Thrawn, or like Nick and I believe we postulated back then, knowing what the Empire was after Cinder, and even reflected in the video game, I think they're hinting at it. Well, no, in the flying video game that came out this time last year, literally a part of the campaign story was the fact that the Imperial officers that had their own capital ships essentially became like their own little rulers of the ship or whatever planet they shacked up on. So we very well could have a warlord type of setup in this remnant empire that hasn't been fully exposed to us at this point in time.
Yeah.
But I think Nick's onto something here. Thrawn very well could be the Thanos event that is going to require this crossover, which has been promised to us. I mean, who knows what they're going to do at the Rangers show, which is no longer in active development. Not that they probably would have needed it, because I think anything they were trying to do in there, they could potentially spin into Ahsoka to flesh out.
Mix them into the other ones. Those storylines can definitely be picked up. Thrawn is definitely going to be a massive force within the Star Wars live action TV universe or live action streaming universe. once he hits. But I do think that you're right, Matt Tones is right, that they're probably going to save his initial reveal for the Ahsoka series, since that was essentially her quarry for her episode in Mando.
Mm-hmm. All right, so spoiler alert, in Andor, you're going to see some familiar Star Wars faces. You heard it here first,
Familiar faces. What?
All right, so we're moving into the new collectibles segment of the show. We'll make this fairly quick because, I mean, these days they're essentially shoveling shit down our throats and expecting us to keep eating it. So there's really not a lot of time that needs dedicated to this. But before I get into, Hasbro angering fans on a weekly basis, we got some new Funko Pops, and I'll tell you what, man, if I still collected these, they truly are getting better and better looking with each wave. And I don't know why it took this long for the Mandalorian Season 2 wave to release in full for Funko, but they are now out and available for pre-order, albeit with some exclusives there. Entertainment Earth's got some cool looking glow in the dark. They have the Dark Trooper glow in the dark. You got a glow in the dark Mando. Yep. I don't know, man. They still look cool. I think out of this set, I'm gonna go with Angry Fett and Cobb Vanth are probably the best looking pops if you are looking on the live stream at least.
Yeah, I really like the Dark Trooper design. And I mean, I know that kind of lends itself more to this aesthetic because it is a non-human.
Yeah.
But I really do like the design of it taking off, using the base instead of just like a hunk of black plastic. At least they're using it as like the smoke.
I'm with you because I know I've lamented this before on the show when I was hardcore pops. But the fact that the Star Wars ones come with a base and these days they're super glued to it is ridiculous. It makes no sense. Fuck the base. If you need to put a base, don't glue their damn feet onto it, Funko. That bitching aside, Nick's right. Like if you're going to include this base and it needs to be attached to the character, then make it functional. Turn it into a mini diorama like they're doing with this Dark Trooper one. So these are all available for pre-order. We'd love if you used our link on StarWarsTime.net, which goes through Entertainment Earth. That helps me waste more money on plastic crack and then bitch about it on the show. So it can provide entertainment if you use our links. I know everyone and their mom has the EE link in their bio and you see it on their stories, but hey, we're your guys, right? SWTS. Yeah. There's always time for Star Wars time. So they're out there, just more of a PSA. But I will say, Nick, this is the first time in a couple years that I looked at these and I'm like, damn, those fucking pops really do look good. They are. There is a charm to them that I still appreciate, even though I do not collect.
Yeah.
And up next here, I think some people appreciate my shithead title and the reason why we probably never will ever work officially with companies like Hasbro or Lucasfilm. But I can't help it. I got to call a spade. So the title for this recap post of Hasbro's new reveal since the last episode of SWTS is, it's like a Joe, what's his name? J. Jonah Jameson title from Spider-Man.
Yeah. Like from Spider-Man. Yeah.
Hasbro keeps angering Star Wars collectors with latest round of reveals. Like that's my headline for the paper in the Daily Bugle. But that's what's happening, Nick. I know you don't really give a rat's ass, so you don't get kind of mixed up in this. Although last week I did appreciate that you have the ability to pick out accessories and what line is what line. But last week,
every now and then I pick them out.
Just kind of out of nowhere. And I'm using Yak Face's post. I mean, he's the guy who gets there first, has the biggest draw. There's a part of me that if I didn't have some free time today, I was just going to use Yak Face's Instagram altogether and not even worry about putting this up on StarWarsTime.net. But I digress. I had free time, and instead of doing something fun like playing video games or editing toy photography, I decided once again to dedicate my life to the Star Wars Time show. So these reveals happened last week, maybe midweek, from Hasbro. And what they revealed, Nick, were some decent looking, again, the vintage collection getting all the love here. But we got a wave of figures in honor of Lucasfilm's 50th that are based on the Star Wars Droids cartoon. So within the TVC line, you get this cool looking Blue Fett, right?
Yep.
Oh, that's the Black Series. That's the wrong one. Then you get the R2 droid and a C-3PO, and they definitely have a stylized look to it. The problem is, my friend, Target exclusives. Okay?
There you go.
That's like giving a Hasbro fan a cancer diagnosis. Okay?
Oof.
When we find out that a Hasbro release is a Target exclusive and it's actually pretty decent looking like these TVC offerings are, you know you're going to lose out. You know you're going to lose out to the cart bops, the scripts, whatever. It's ridiculous. And as many fans have bitched about in our stream, it's just like, enough's enough. Like, we've voiced our opinions. We don't like Target exclusives. They're impossible to get for real collectors. Why, Hasbro? Why? I mean, these are people wanting to take their hard-earned money that they should be spending on their wives, their significant others, their children, their future, and they want to throw it at Hasbro, but Hasbro keeps making Target exclusives. So guess what? When these went live, I believe the Vintage Collection Target exclusives were gone within a few minutes.
That sucks.
Luckily for us Black Series bozos, they also made a Black Series version of the Boba Fett, which, if you've been keeping score, is probably the 30th repaint of Boba Fett revealed this year alone. All right.
I was going to say, there's so many Boba Fetts at this point that it's like,
it's stupid.
I don't know.
It's
just
stupid.
Here's what they should do. They should just sell a blank Boba Fett and then sell you a paint set. And then you could just paint it whatever color you want.
Exactly. I'm sure customizers would love it because it's getting laughable. And, I will admit that at least this one is unique and it does kind of capture a goofy Star Wars project.
Yeah.
But it's just the same fucking mold that they've been spitting out all year long. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have shiny paint. It's not as ridiculous as the carbonized version of Boba Fett, but it's just another fucking repaint. This one, Nick, I hate to even admit this. I did not try right when the bell rang to pre-order. I was like, fuck it, it's Target exclusive. It's not even worth the hassle. But out of curiosity, I think it was like 45 to an hour after the opening bell, I was like, hey, I'm going to go check it out, see that it's sold out, and be like, I'm glad I missed out on that. And what I found, the fucking thing wasn't sold out. So
whoa, look at that.
I think out of pure shock that it was in stock, my brain took my hand and went click, click, buy. I don't feel like I did it consciously. I really think it was more of an involuntary reaction to the notion that a real collector could miss a pre-order window on a Target exclusive and almost an hour later still order it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's still there, then yeah, you kind of feel that pull to like, hey, maybe it's meant to be. Maybe this is the Force telling me.
I'm like, no. I was pulling my hand back. I was like, don't do it, you fucking idiot. You know you don't want it. And it's just like, but it's there. Target stuff's never there. Buy. And,
dude, that's how I was with that Xbox Series X. Because like, I follow IGN deals because like they'll throw up a bunch of shit on like Twitter and stuff, and I found a lot of good random tech deals on there. So when it had that on there, I was like, oh, I caught the post. I saw it like 45 minutes, an hour, something late. I just clicked it and I was like, whatever, I'll see. And it was still there, and it was the same thing. It's like, well, it's there, so I guess I'll get it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's weird that was still sitting on Target after that long. Unless they started to do some sort of different type of release mechanism for those toys, that should have been gone.
I mean, I honestly think it's the fans finally realizing that the only way they're going to get this shit to change is to stop making the launches successful. I mean, it's in any medium where you have to exchange money. If you stop giving them the money, they're going to try something different to get said money back. It's always funny in gaming this time of year. Oh, another Call of Duty. Oh, they're doing a Halo again. Oh, they're doing a Gears of War again. Oh, they're doing... It's like, well, if it ain't broke,
stop buying.
Why fix it? If you keep giving studios like Activision $500 million every Tuesday in November, they're going to keep doing it. Hey, it's not rocket science. So, and hey, I'm the pot calling the kettle black right now because my dumbass, someone who has tried to cut back on his Black Series buys because a lot of this, fucking bought this one anyways, like an asshole, like a true asshole. So I don't know, maybe I'll wake up and cancel it before it gets charged, but there you go. And then I think the last thing, I guess there's a new one that popped up when the show went live, like a George Lucas Stormtrooper thing that I'm sure is another, like you gotta, rub your belly and tap your head and spin around 5 times while saying his name backwards to get it. But the other one that pissed people off was this reveal of a new Gaming Greats Black Series, and it happens to be Boss from Republic Commando, which should get everyone excited. But upon further review, if you actually look at the figure, you have to go, what the fuck? Like, it doesn't look right. It's got this tiny, skinny body and then like an oversized helmet to where it no longer looks like a clone commando. It looks like a dipshit, right? I mean, it doesn't look right. The proportions aren't just. They're off. Kind of making it another point for fans to bitch and moan, and I don't blame them. So
they're raking you over the coals, guys. You got to see it. You got to see it happen. You got to take action.
Yeah. So I'm passing on Boss here. I mean, at this point, it's like Tones is saying in the chat, I'm fully down the Hot Toys rabbit hole. Might as well just stay there and keep lighting that cash on fire through pre-orders and payment plans. So there's your week in Hasbro disappointments.
There you go. There you go. And you know what? That's going to bring us to a little bit less of a disappointing segment here. And this is going to be our fan segment for the week, which we always kick off with the question of the week. And this one is, what is your favorite Star Wars Visions short and why? So that's Matt right. And I, we gave you the breakdown to our favorites. Our number ones were the Ninth Jedi for Matt and then Lop and Ocho for me. So let's see what all of you had to say.
I'll take the first one because
yes, this is our friend.
Yeah, it's our buddy Hideous. He actually, I'll give him credit. I mean, he's like, hey, what's the question going to be? He asked me this morning.
He's asking ahead of time.
Well, I mean, these people, I think it's like 3 a.m. in Australia.
Yeah, when you're in Australia, it's way off.
So here's from our buddy Hideous here. Star Wars Toys 73 or something like that. I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for a show like Visions. Star Wars and anime, the perfect fusion. While I'm not a fan of a lot of anime, this all added to the universe in their own unique way. My favorite episode was The Duel. Something about how stylized this was just popped for me. I love that it was monochromatic except for the droids' lights and the lightsabers. This felt gritty and old. It just spoke to me as a genuine homage to the original movie. I hope we can get more of this content as it challenges fans and exposes Star Wars to a whole new base of eager eyeballs. 10/10 would recommend, period.
Agree. I mean, if you like that too, Basajan, if you're listening, go watch some old Akira Kurosawa movies. Go watch Seven Samurai, and get really get into the background of where George picked up stuff like this. Because I had a film history class in college, and we watched Seven Samurai, and it was fantastic. And you could definitely see the Star Wars edge of that. But even now, seeing The Duel, if you go back and watch Seven Samurai, just fantastic
stuff.
And
old Basajan's had some fuckery in life. I guess the Aussies are in a lockdown again, and some people are getting squirrely, and they broke into his restaurant and stole a bunch of shit, and then like an hour later, another person came and stole the rest of the shit. So he got like his place got double hit in the same night by different perps robbing his ass. So fuck them. Hopefully they die. All right.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Moving on.
All right. Next up, Mando Mugshot says the Ninth Jedi was probably my favorite. It just had a bit more narrative than the others with interesting concepts and a nice twist. I preferred the animation style of the duel, but there just wasn't enough story, but it certainly left you wanting more. So Mando Mugshots, if you want more of the story, go pick up the Ronin novel because that is directly tied into...
I actually think he is essentially saying exactly what we said about these two. Like, Ninth Jedi had more content. Duel might have looked cooler, but there wasn't enough story to really feel like, okay, yeah, I want to see the trilogy here. So it sounds like he may have our brains bugged and he is listening to every thought we have.
It's very possible. Next up, Galaxy Fun Photography says, Episode 4, The Village Bride, had the real Star Wars feeling for the first time in the series. Interesting. So he's just like the intern, and he thinks that The Village Bride is the number one. I'm glad that we have a mix of different episodes that people are enjoying here.
Well, it just goes to show people a lot of art, if not all art, is subjective. Like, it's going to resonate differently with everyone. That's always funny. When I posted my top 10, you had producer Spencer come right in like, fuck that shit's wrong, here's mine. It's like, oh, you're one of these guys, huh? Like, you don't quite understand what opinions are and rankings, but it's all good. Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to take these differently. I mean, hell, there's some fans probably had negative reactions. I don't quite understand that, but there are Star Wars fans like that.
Absolutely.
All right, up next,
IPA CSC says The Duel. I love the Sith and the whole futuristic feudal Japan style to it. Yes. Again, that's like stylistically, I think that The Duel had the biggest.
Oh yeah.
It was the most stood out the most in terms of stylistic.
Oh geez, what am I doing here? There you go.
Next up, Scion XTC says, if I had to pick a favorite episode, I would pick The Duel because the concept behind the story is similar to Season 2, Episode 17, the Bounty Hunters episode of The Clone Wars. It gave a nice callback, intentionally or not, to that episode, showing even more the relationship between Star Wars and that time period of Japanese history and culture that George Lucas originally drew from Akira Kurosawa. Again, like the Duel itself was almost like a dual homage to like, one, to Star Wars, and two, to the progenitor of Star Wars, Kurosawa. And having that, I mean, it definitely wasn't a bad thing to have that as like your flagship episode, or the one that you kind of hung your marketing dollars on, because even if it wasn't clearly the best, like even if there is debate as to what is the best, I still think that the Duel kind of gives you, in essence, what Visions was trying to accomplish, like taking Star Wars and bringing it to its roots.
Oh, I mean, it's clearly the mascot. I mean, it's the selling episode for the series itself. It just, in my opinion, wasn't the ultimate episode, but clearly, I mean, look at it. We just finished all the fan responses. I think all of them were The Duel, outside of one, Ninth Jedi. So it resonated with a lot of fans that way.
Definitely did.
All right.
So thank you, everybody, for the responses.
Yep. They've gotten better. We've actually had a few comments here or there, so we do appreciate when you guys play along. It makes things a little more interesting on our end. What the hell's going on here at the top 5 post? It doesn't quite want to load fully.
Not loading.
But that's where we're at. So while we, there we go. So while we let the technology, it still is, I can see it's like not pulling all the data from the Instagram embeds. But anyways, it's time for this week's version of the top 5 Star Wars featured artists of the week. Real quickly, if you are new here, the way to get involved in the top 5 is to, first and foremost, follow us on Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. And then anytime you produce something rad Star Wars, tag our account and use hashtag Star Wars Time Show. That way I'll be able to see it on my daily journey through the Star Wars Time Show tags and hashtags, which will result in daily features. And then at the end of the week on Monday, or at least our week, Nick will pick his 5 favorite from that lot of featured artists. And that's what we talk about on our final segment of the Star Wars Time Show live stream and podcast every week. So get involved, have some fun, and play with your buddies at the Star Wars Time Show. All right, Nick, who do we got first here in this week's top 5?
First up in the top 5 is at 529_J. And what did he give us? He gave us
the guy from the
Jedi
Elder.
Master. Yeah, this is the guy from the Elder. This is Jedi Master John Wick with dog in tow. And this guy has just laid to waste a number of different opponents, including Boba Fett. Boba Fett lying dead. It
is Bozo Fett, so I mean it's technically okay that this happened, right? He is wearing the Return of the Jedi or Empire version of the armor, so we do know he's a bozo. Nick, I think my favorite part is the fact that even though Jedi Wick has a lightsaber, he's still strapped. Like, I love that he's got a fucking pistol drawn and like a probably an AR hanging over his shoulder. So
I mean, because sometimes you got people that's too far away for a lightsaber, so you just need to shoot a couple of bullets their way.
Yeah, and fuck laser bolts. He's going old school. He wants gunpowder and lead flying, right?
Yes. I mean, it's fantastic. So, I mean, the shot's great. It's essentially Farm Boy Luke, from what I can tell. Is that what it is? Farm Boy Luke body with John Wick head.
Yeah, that's a figure arts Farm Boy Luke with probably the Mezco, or I don't know if there was a figure arts Wick, but either way, it the mashup worked perfectly, and I think including the dog just kind of seals the deal on this being a fantastic mashup.
Yeah, the perfect cherry on top here. So. Absolutely wonderful job at 529J on Instagram, giving us what we all want, which is Keanu Reeves with a lightsaber. Beautiful job. Next up, I mean, this visual approach photography is fast becoming maybe one of the most featured artists in all time in the top 5.
Yeah. Well, it's a God mode shot here, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is fucking incredible. So what we see here is Mr. Din Djarin, the Mandalorian full Beskar, sitting upon a throne flanked on his sides by Bo-Katan on the right side of the frame, and then the armor on the left side of the frame, and then laying strewn at his feet, similar to Jedi Master Wick, is a just cadre of dead stormtroopers.
There's even other Mando helmets in there, like this guy. You know, he didn't fuck around.
There is. I see a Django helmet in there.
Din's ascent to Mandalore was not easy based on this picture here. He somehow got the women to agree with him, who, by the way, are on completely different spectrums of the Mandalorian mythos, creed. Right? Like, one is nuts and the other one used to be nuts, is no longer nuts, but somehow lost the thing that was very important to her, to an Imperial. But yeah, I mean, this is just master level type of shit here from Sean at visual_approach _photography. No more underscores.
No more. Beautiful job.
I will say, and again, this is not a knock at all, but you could also argue that he posed Din to look like he's letting out a fart right now on the throne, right? It looked like he's like, hey, ladies, check this out.
It's almost like that. It almost looks like the Ned Stark pose from.
No, it is. It's like a beleaguered. He's like in a beleaguered lean. Like he literally just cut through all these things, and he's just fucking taking a breather. But because I live in the toilet, I also could see him, kind of lifting that cheek a bit to let some flatulence out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's some toilet humor coming forth in the top 5, but we're not quite there yet. Because next up is Imperial Troops Optics at Imperial_Troops_Optics. And I mean, I don't know how else to describe this other than this is just like it's like the hero action shot. If you have an ensemble hero group.
It's in your face. It's like, this is what the Empire may put on a recruiting poster, like, come fight with us and you'll look fucking rad like this, right? It's like you got the jump trooper kind of leading the charge. You get, maybe they're all jump troopers in the back shooting. You got some machinery in here. I don't know. It's like a power shot, I know. I feel like I want to get up and start fucking running with heavy armor on, just looking at the shot.
I know, it's fucking great. The posing on the jump troopers is awesome. So in the front you have, I guess what would be their commander, because he's got the colored shoulder pauldron kind of running up.
Yep.
You got his 3 buddies flanking, all with guns. You got 2 TIE fighters in the background just zipping around shooting guns, and then an ATST to top everything off, looming over the whole shot. So I mean, it's top tier action oriented shot here from
and I don't think there's a lot of nonsense either. I mean, it looks like straight up outdoor photography using the sun. That's all you need. So I know people that haven't done it before. I mean, oh, that sounds like, no, trust me, it's not that easy to shoot outdoors. Yes, you have the Earth's light, but sometimes it's too harsh. Sometimes it's not enough. I don't know. This one just works from top to bottom. Like Nick said, the action oriented posing, kind of the tight perspective, like the tight crop on the main subject. And I'm just going to go back to, it's like, yeah, hey, if you want to join the Empire, roll out propaganda like this. Yeah,
absolutely. So fantastic job at Imperial_troops_optics. Well done. And here's our toilet shot for the week. Literally.
Oh, I'm such a 2-year-old. But I love it. I mean, I love this shit, man. I think this shit's fantastic.
It's just hilarious. And then, like, it's the detail work. So this is from Out the Toy Box Into the Fire, at Out the Toy Box Into the Fire. And what we see is a stormtrooper who clearly needs to work on either the cleanliness of his visor or give that thing a nice tap, because he's standing in a bathroom right next to a toilet, but he's urinating onto the floor next to the toilet.
I mean, it's a play on their bad aim, but with his own penis and urine, and clearly he still can't even hit the toilet, like Nick said, that's right in front of him. And I'll add, he didn't even lift up the seat, so he's a double scumbag. But no, man, it's just one of those shots where it's a Star Wars character in like a normal setting, a bathroom.
Yeah.
And the play on their bad aim with him missing the toilet, I don't know. It resonated with me. I was like, this is fucking hilarious.
I like it. It's too good. The touches, I mean, even the like, everything is designed, like the toilet, the sink, I guess the plunger holder. Yeah,
there's even like a toilet brush down there. It's crazy. Yeah. It's like a doll. I mean, it's literally like a dollhouse set, but you got a trooper in there pissing on the floor, and it just makes it. It's just like, this is brilliant. So great.
It is too good. Out the toy box into the fire on Instagram.
Because I mean, it even feels like the trooper is trying his hardest to hit.
Yeah, he's like, I just feel like I'm in the right spot.
Just can't do it.
This is the right area.
Because he's looking straight ahead, like he's still looking at the bowl, yet the piss is going wide right. So I don't know.
Yeah, wide right.
It's good shit.
Perfect stuff. And the last one for the top 5 this week is at Figure Hurts, our good friend Figure fucking Hurts. And what we have is a beautiful father-son moment between Mando Din Djarin and little Grogu, baby Yoda. Grogu's got an ice cream cone that he just splashed right into the face of Papa
All
Din.
Practical, by the way. All practical.
I mean, it's truly incredible. So it looks like, is that like Play-Doh that the ice cream is made out of
over on Figure Hurts' page, I believe he describes the process here. But for parents of little kids, it's that type of stuff. I don't know if it's kinetic sand or foam or Play-Doh, but he made an ice cream look splattered on a Mando helmet out of arts and crafts shit you get for your little kids. And that's what stood out to me. This is probably one of the best shots, if not the best shot, of the 1-to-1 scale Hot Toys Grogu. And I'm assuming Figure Hurts used the Black Series Mandalorian helmet. So you have a 1-to-1 helmet with the 1-to-1 Grogu, so you get the full sense of scale. And he used a great trick, probably just setting the helmet on a table and ruffling some cape-colored cloth under it to truly make it look like we have a life-size Mando getting an ice cream cone to the helmeted face from his travel buddy, Grogu.
Yeah, so that was super cool. Always fun to see Figure Hurts making the top 5, because he's a he's a very creative photographer.
Yeah, so the ice cream was from Kids Air Dry Clay. So there you go.
Oh, wow. There you go. So good stuff there. Before we close out the top 5, I do want to remind everybody that we still have our Star Wars Time Show giveaway going on, and we're 1 entry away from our minimum requirement.
There you go. It did pick up a little bit, Nick. It did pick up a lot.
It did.
The guilt trip we laid on him last week resonated with a few. Still not where I would like it to be at, but thank you to everyone that has participated. We've got some of the bigger accounts in. I know Work More or Less just caught wind of it and submitted his entry today. Burkhead Toys. I know
Jedi
I'm missing.
Inside this.
There you go.
This the 529J top 5 picture was actually using the Star Wars Time Show giveaway tag, right. So that's in there as well. So there's a bunch of good stuff.
So they're off to a good start. If you're making the top 5 with your SWTS hashtag SWTS giveaway productions, that's probably a good sign. You may make the top 5 en route to being crowned the winner. But like Nick said, it's still out there. I think we're running it for at least another week or 2. The post is on our Instagram. You can't really miss it. I know we have a ton of fucking posts, but just scroll through. You got some really shitty looking Photoshop stuff that I did that just says giveaway. I'll probably try to reshare it in our stories. But yeah, we want that one final entry to get us up to 15 total, so we'll actually host the competition live on October 12th, I believe, is the stream. We're going to announce the winner.
Yeah. So remember, hashtag Star Wars, hashtag SWTS giveaway, and then tag 2 friends in your post,
right?
For your entry. So there we go. So thank you all of you who have gone through and submitted some posts. Awesome to see that people are in there and using the giveaway. And that's the end. That's the end of the show. That's the end of the top 5. So Matt, take us home. Take us to the end of this puppy.
I'm there, buddy. I am home. StarWarsTime.net. That's where we live. On the internet, that is. Otherwise, I live in a basement. He lives in a new home that needs repaired at least once a month. But exactly. our online presence is StarWarsTime.net. That really is the best place to go to kind of check out some of the content we create throughout the week, as well as the topics we'll be discussing on the Tuesday live stream, which becomes the Wednesday audio only edition of the Star Wars Time Show. So StarWarsTime.net, we have all the podcast platforms we're on, real easy clickable buttons that'll take you to them so you can subscribe. All that we ask is if you do sub on a podcast platform and they allow for ratings or reviews, please drop one, good or bad, because the more people that tell the internet gods that we're worth listening to, the more recommendations the internet will make of the show to those people out there searching for Star Wars podcasts. Good, right? Because what do you type into the bar when you're looking for something good? This good. Star Wars podcast good. Star Wars podcast funny. We want to pop up for that type of shit, even though I would argue against the idea that we are humorous. But the point of this goodbye is StarWarsTime.net. That's where we go for all things the Star Wars Time Show. Because we know it, our diehards know it. We always want more people to learn that there's always time for Star Wars Time. Star Wars Visions prove that to us. It might not be what we're used to, but there was still time for it because there's always time for Star Wars Time. And those that do listen, they know that if you listen to the Star Wars Time Show, the Force will be with you. Always.